So, welcome on in, everybody. If you have not been to one of our Beyond Denial guest lecture series, welcome in. There's only one more in October before we end season 3 and get ready for season 4 next year. We do this slightly differently than normal streams because every lecture is a little bit different depending on our guest coming in. So we have some that are full PowerPoints like we're going to do today, some are more discussion, and we always ask that you ask questions, but we really ask you to turn on, use one of our channel points, which is lecture questions, which as I'm saying this, I remember I did not turn on. So I'm going to do that now because I forget that I have to turn that on every time because otherwise people will just use it just to annoy me. There we go. Alrighty. And then I also have to do one other thing that also is our timer to remind people to do this. Unless it makes me log into Twitch and then I need a... Oh no, I did. I am good. Okay. Lecture timer. Alrighty, that works out there. So there is a channel point. You click the little onk at the bottom, you will see it pop up. It is only one onk. It is the cheapest thing that you're going to be able to quote unquote buy. And it just requires you to put your question in there so that we don't lose your question if we get really in depth into the conversation or if we are looking for like a gap. But we will answer questions throughout the lecture, and then at the end we'll obviously ask for any more. So please use that and just understand that we're deep in thought. Sometimes it'll take us a second to get it back, just to get our reading comprehension in the chat up. Sorry, I'm gonna do some. My whole computer is like being silly. I'm just gonna close. I'm just dropping frames, which is not fun, but it might mean that we just have to go off of TikTok if it's that bad, but looks like it's okay now. All right, so would you like to introduce yourself, Alexandria, and then we will get on started?
Yeah. So hi, I'm Alexandria. I studied archaeology at the University of Oxford, and that led me to co-founding the Humanities Guild, which was an awesome experience. We had a lot of people who were using archaeology and history as outreach, and it was like an online community, which was amazing. And that led me kind of on this weird journey, and now I'm a teacher. I teach 7th grade mostly, which is amazing. I think it might be my favorite age. And one of the classes I teach is astronomy, and I use the history of STEM within that. So it's kind of what we're going to be focusing on tonight.
Perfect. Amazing. Yeah, sorry, we're having some buffering issues. I might get off of TikTok if it keeps on happening. So we will just push that through. And get ready, Roxy. This is going to be a great lecture. We're going to learn so much. I'm so excited. This is going to be fun. All right, so let me pull up the PowerPoint. All right. Share it with you so you can see that. And the last thing is transitioning over to 1 second, just switching. Can you not TikTok live? Okay. It's like... Alright, I think we are gonna end on TikTok live because it just keeps unconnecting, and I cannot make this connect at the same time.
Oh no.
I know. It sucks, but it's just like I don't...
Sorry.
No. This is fine. The real thing is that the
It is what it is.
It is what it is, and also I am hopefully going to get Verizon, which means I'm going to be actually hooked into my internet via my computer, so I just have to wait for the apartment to finish it up. Alexandria does not stream on Twitch, but posts on TikTok occasionally.
I don't have the time. I didn't know the time.
I know.
I get
We
home
don't.
from teaching and I collapse on my bed and that's it. That's all you're getting from me.
We don't have enough
Sorry.
time. There's just not enough time in
Mm,
general, unfortunately.
no. No. Yeah, eats TikTok
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, so I guess I will just get started. But
absolutely.
a little bit about why the history of STEM and teaching correlates in my life is a weird story. So I kind of already mentioned, that I had studied archaeology at Oxford and then kind of went on this academic spiral and I've ended up in teaching. But what was really interesting is growing up, academics, mathematics, science, it just wasn't at the forefront of my life. I grew up in a very performance family. My dad was an opera singer. It was just kind of assumed that I would follow suit in the performing arts. So I'm a classically trained ballet dancer. I teach ballet and was in a small opera company. And then when I moved out of my parents' house when I was an adult, I realized there's this whole other world that I had never explored before. So I had to do it. I had to figure out like what was this other world, and I fell in love with it, and it became a huge passion. And I was lucky enough that I got to really dive into two of my big loves, which was Egyptology and astronomy, both through my track at Oxford. And with that came realizing how important the humanities are to our understanding of STEM. Oftentimes we put them into two very separate categories. You're either into the humanities, like linguistics and history and archaeology, or you're into STEM, and the two very rarely have a bridge that cross. And it was that bridge that became my like obsession, and is still my obsession. I'm really lucky that I get to teach at a school that values art and creativity and hands-on experiences. And it gives me this freedom to shape curriculum the way that rings true for me and feels authentic. That I developed for my middle school students is a history of STEM approach to astronomy. So we'll cover the fundamentals, astronomical principles, star navigation, celestial mapping, all of that. But we do it by tracing their origins. So from like the Egyptian Merkab, which we'll talk about, all the way to the James Webb Telescope. We place science within, the long story of the human experience. And what my students leave with is more than just the ability to understand a planetarium show, but an appreciation for the story of how knowledge is built across cultures, across centuries, across disciplines. They see that astronomy, and then like more broadly STEM as a whole, it's not cut and dry. It's a sequence of discoveries and the result of countless voices and experiments and innovation layered over time. This
Amazing.
evening, I want to kind of give you a crash course in that. And then we'll explore some of the ancient instruments that shaped astronomy. We'll turn to the Islamic Golden Age, which is this really amazing period of vital understanding in how mathematics and science works. And it advances beyond the foundations of thinkers like Ptolemy. And ultimately, we'll see how these moments connect. The history of STEM is truly just like it's a sum of its parts, with each generation of thinkers building on those who came before.
Cannot
So
wait. Oh
when we
my
think,
goodness.
when we think about this, I'm so glad. I love that. When we think about the history of astronomy, it's easy to imagine it as just like a straight line of progress. And I
Hmm.
know, like, I don't know if you ever did timelines and like
Yeah.
it's also
Some.
homeschooled and weird, but we did
Yeah. Sometimes have done
timeline.
like timelines.
Yeah. And it was a straight line, and then
Hmm.
you'd have like these paintings, and it was like this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. So it's easy to think about progress in that way, where like one discovery is neatly followed by another one until we reach telescopes and
Mm-hmm.
satellites, and spaceships. But in reality, the story it's so much richer than that. I like to think of it as a tapestry rather than a
Mm.
timeline. It's woven with so many different cultures, each adding their own threads of observation and imagination and innovation. In the earliest chapters of the story, astronomy is not yet what we think of as like a science. Um, it was deeply connected with myth and ritual, but also practical needs of everyday life, like agriculture. But yeah, it's in that framework that people develop the remarkable systems of measuring time, aligning monuments, predicting rhythms in nature. So I want to begin, because this is MelissainDeNile, I want to begin with Egypt. So you can go ahead to the next slide.
All right.
We're going to see how the earliest tools of observation in ancient Egypt shaped a civilization, and then we'll trace later cultures that build upon these foundations through Greece and then again the Islamic Golden Age. There's a lot of discourse about the contributions to astronomy in ancient Egypt. Like, does ancient Egypt have really any point in astronomy, especially when we look at like Mesopotamia? Egypt really does take a lot from what Mesopotamia has already kind of figured out.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we tend to be like, well, there is no real Egyptian, like ancient Egyptian astronomy. It's Mesopotamian astronomy that's like adapted. But I don't necessarily like to think of it just in that way, because while they did adapt, they built upon it, and there's also a lot of differences, the zodiac being one of them. And what is really interesting to me is that once we get to ancient Greece and then the Hellenistic period, they kind of glaze over ancient Egypt as a whole. They're taking directly from ancient Mesopotamia. So all of this kind of gets pushed to the side, and so it's easy to kind of overlook these contributions and these tools that are used. But when we talk about ancient astronomy in ancient Egypt, it's important again to realize that it looked different. For the Egyptians, the heavens were inseparable from mythology, ritual, and daily life, and the sky itself was imagined as the goddess Nut. Am I saying that right?
That okay, you are, and everybody on this stream should know who this person is, because I literally dressed up as her for the Renaissance Fair last weekend.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so literally last Saturday, 1 week ago today, I was testing out my costume and doing makeup, and so we read her entire Wikipedia page. She's my favorite goddess. I love her, and she is the sky. Full of, as I like to call them, starfish stars, because they're not like as pointy as like the stars that we have, like a 5-point star. So they kind of look like starfish. So I call them starfish stars.
They do look like starfish.
They do look like starfish.
I'm gonna tell my class that.
Call them starfish
stars.
Class that next week. It's so good.
I'm gonna show them. Be like, oh my goodness, you have to hear this, because I don't know why I never thought of it that way before, but that's so true.
They're just a little. They're like they're the really long finger starfish, not the normal like starfish that are kind of fat in the middle. They're the ones that are just like have the tiniest middle, and they just go out.
They go out. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. How great. We're done. This is it. We've peaked with that. There's nothing else I can. That's the best thing you're gonna hear all night.
Yeah. Starfish stars.
Oh my gosh. But as you can see, her body is stretching over protectively over Earth. It's within that mythological framework. The Egyptians build an incredibly practical system to astronomy. And one theory that an astrophysicist named Or Grauer, and I'm probably saying his name wrong.
Hey, I don't know his name.
Say
it how you want.
The article, it's so cool. He argues that Nut could have been a celestial manifestation of the Milky Way.
Yep.
So the idea is explored in a paper that he published along with some colleagues in the Journal of Astronomical History and Heritage. And he brought together astronomy, Egyptology, and anthropology. He used contemporary astronomical software to simulate the appearance of the Milky Way in ancient Egypt. And then he compared the results with descriptions of Nut in key sources.
Amazing.
So this is not the only time that we have evidence of gods or goddesses being connected with the Milky Way. He even looks at bird migration as a tool of trying to prove this. he says that it's, it's a theory, and he mentions in the paper that it's inconclusive, but it's really cool to think of it in that way. And what I tell my students constantly is mythology, for all intents and purposes, is humans making sense of the world around them with the tools that they had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would make sense that we would have gods and goddesses that were directly correlated with things that we could see but we couldn't understand, like the Milky Way.
Absolutely.
Beyond the obvious role of the divine in the sky, the ancient Egyptians used early astronomy for practicality in both agriculture and rituals. They actually divided the night sky into 36 groups of stars called decans. And these rose one right after the other throughout the night. And this differs from Mesopotamia, which used 12 zodiacs. And that's what's later adopted by ancient Greece. By observing these decans, priests could track the passage of hours after sunset and even create star clocks, some of which were painted inside coffins to help guide into the afterlife. They also developed a solar calendar of 365 days, which is amazing to me, and I can't stop talking about it.
Oh yeah.
It's based their careful tracking of the sun and rising of the star Sirius, and that signaled the flooding of the Nile, which was essential to agriculture. That's essential to their life. It is their lifeline. Mm-hmm. So astronomy was life-giving to them. Understanding it as much as they could was life-giving to them. So it wasn't just symbolic. And this is something that I'm constantly trying to share with my students. Yeah. You can go ahead and go to the next slide.
I'm going to wait 1 second because we have an ad finishing up, and I have one question that relates to this. But I'm going to wait because there's like 22 seconds on the ad. Yeah.
I can wait. I'm also like super stoked about talking about this. I feel like I'm talking too fast. So.
No, you're talking amazing. You're fine. I love it. There was something I was going to say earlier, and now I can't remember what it was. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, I like that there is an actual guy who has put out a theory of Newt being the Milky Way, because it's so much better than the Orion correlation theory, which has the Nile being the Milky Way and all the stars being in the wrong place, and all that stuff, which everyone knows about that now because we did a lecture on it 2 months ago, I think. Not that specifically. It was part of a whole breaking misconceptions about ancient Egypt, like breaking them all up, and that was one of the big ones. Cool. And we did the
star alignment thing.
We did a lecture with an astrobiologist a couple months, like 1 month before that, and one of her questions to me was literally that, was do the stars in Orion's belt line up with the pyramids? And I always thought yes, because I had seen it and I've never really delved in deeper, and that was before I realized that it was a freaking Graham Hancock thing from the 90s. And I was like, oh my God. And so then we debunked it for her. And then when I did my misinformation one the next month, we did it again and even more deep that time. So I'm glad that somebody is like, is lining up with like, yes, they had the Milky Way in Egypt. They could see the Milky Way, like, and that it would make sense that would possibly like be,
I'll send you the journal entry because it's so fascinating of
you
like, the
literally
overlays and using modern technology.
Mark already thought of it and he already put the link in the chat. How did you do that, Mark? You're mind reading us.
What?
Mark, just put it in the chat.
Fantastic. Thank you. I didn't even see that. It's amazing.
He literally just did it when you said it. It was actually weirdly coincidental. So Roxy asked, could you elaborate more on the star lore, astronomy, astrology of Mesopotamia, and how ancient Egypt builds on this? And from what I understand, is all of our modern zodiacs are from Mesopotamia, and Egypt took them, and then Greece and Rome took them as well. And that, I understand it, Egypt doesn't have its own zodiac, really. Because when you really look at it, it
does not.
Yeah, it is Mesopotamian's one that they've changed, and certain things I think there's like a hippo, or like something's a dog. Like they call them different things, but they're technically the same. And then Greece and Rome take that, but the problem that confuses people is that the best evidence we have of astronomy and zodiacs in Egypt are in Greco-Roman temples in Egypt.
Exactly.
And so people think that it's Egyptian because it's an Egyptian
Yes.
temple, but it's not. So Dendera is the big one. Yeah.
It's very much not. And what's yeah.
Yeah.
So for all intents and purposes, I mean, you know, we get Alexander the Great comes in, conquers Egypt. And the fact that a lot of the uses for what we would say astrology and astronomy in Egypt gets completely overlooked for Mesopotamia. And there's a lot of reasons why that could be. A lot of what Egypt did within astronomy was just very specific to their region. So they didn't really need to expand. They didn't want to expand, not at least in an overall generalization way. Whereas Mesopotamia does tend to dive a little deeper, especially within astrology. So Egypt does not have its own zodiac. They do kind of take from Mesopotamia, but it's my understanding that they weren't, and you can correct me, is that ancient Egypt wasn't as interested in the 12 zodiacs as much as they were about using the night sky specifically for calculating rituals.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't really think Egypt used the stars for anything other than like the calendar and the ritual. And in some cases, like lining up like the solstice with buildings and stuff. Like, I really truly think it's probably because they cared more about the sun than anything else. Like
I would agree.
the stars, like the only thing that's going on with the stars is that somewhere off in an unviewable location, Horus is fighting Apophis or Apep to make sure that the sun rises the next day. Like, I think in their case, the sun is too important, and so the stars don't really matter in the same sense, and especially the zodiac specifically, minus Sirius, which is the god Sothis, which in Egyptian is Sopdet. I always forget because the couple, it's Sirius and then it's another star next to it, and I always forget. It's Sopdet and Septu, but I can't remember which one is which. I think Sopdet is Sirius and Septu is the other one. And then they also have a son who's a star, I think. I can't remember his name either.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But like even Septu is, you know, she swallows and births the sun.
Yep.
Like, so even within the night sky, we're still thinking about the sun.
Yeah, it's still all about the sun. That's the big thing. But yeah, I don't know much about like Mesopotamian lore and astronomy, but I know that most of the stuff that we sort of talk about with the zodiac is sort of established in Mesopotamia. I'm sure there's differences. I'm sure the stars meant, I think the ones that we know, like the bear and Gemini and Libra, those are Greek or / Roman. I'm sure they had different names in Mesopotamia, but
it's very similar to what we see with Rome copying Greek mythology and just
all the time.
It's just what we do.
Yeah.
We just take and rename. So yeah, it's pretty much just, it's an already established thing. They rename it, they fit it into their culture, and it's not necessarily with ill intent.
Yeah. Oh God.
Very much everything was centered around your world at that time. What does that mean for me right now, right here? So adapting. Woo! There goes my. You had a lovely view of my room. So, like, adapting it to what it means for you right now and there.
Yeah.
And changing it to fit.
Absolutely. One other question before I move on, although I feel like you're going to cover this at the end, so we might save this one, Lightning Builder. But you said, do you know what the next generation is going to do to map the stars? And are you teaching the kids how to come up with new ways?
Oh, can I answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah. Yes. No, I don't know how. because I'm not a mind reader, and I have tweens and teens who don't want
Yeah,
to be
tweens and
perceived
teens.
at all. They do not want to be perceived, and that's fine. That's totally where they are at their stage of life, and I love it. So I want to get them excited about the idea of astronomy, and then through learning the history and how we build upon things, and what we'll get into with the Islamic Golden Age is the importance of being critical with the information of the past without discarding it. So building upon it, seeing where are its flaws, but what can I use from this, and then coming up with new ways. At the end of the year, my kids are going to be making their own star maps, and they're going to get to come up with ways of being able to create systems that they can look either like a piece of paper. Last year, someone made this really cool rotating thing. It was almost like an astrolabe to be able to calculate their constellations in the night sky, depending on what date it was. So it just kind of gets their brain thinking a little bit, and maybe none of my students will go on to wanting to major in astrophysics, and that's fine. But I hope that they have a love and appreciation of our connection to the night sky and our celestial globe.
Also, I realized I should show this while we're still talking about Newt. I'll have to send you the picture, Alexandria, but my outfit, this was the crown that I made, which Newt, the Egyptian hieroglyph for Nu, is a pot, and so when she's a normal human, she wears this. But the stickers I found at Michael's, which were amazing, are all the constellations with. I found this at Michael's. It's like the best sticker pack I've ever found. I tried my darndest to put them in the right order. I looked up a star map and tried my best, but this shape does not work with many of these. So then I just started sticking them, and then the back of it has her and her name in Egyptian. So this is what I wore. And then I wore a blue dress that has gold stars, which I bought years ago because I thought it looked like her. And then a blue corset, and I had my sistrum, and I had a lot of stuff. I had my staff that has a giant ankh on the top. Nobody knew who I was because it's the Renaissance Fair, but I had many great compliments.
You had to tell them.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
That's so
but I
cool.
thought you have to look up if you can get the sticker pack because they're beautiful. They're gold and sparkly, and they have they have all the names of the stars on it. Like they're not random. They're all real, and I thought that was so cool. Yeah.
Hold on.
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it on Michael. You talk. I'm gonna find it on Michael's, and I'm gonna Discord it to you.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry. It felt more important at the time.
No, it's very cool, and
If you want to go to the next one.
All right, I should be there. Can you see that? Okay.
I need that. Okay, so one of the most fascinating tools from ancient Egypt is the Merkhet.
And I have no idea what this is too. So I'm very
instrument.
I'm very excited because I have no idea what this is.
Really?
Yeah, I've never seen this before in my life. I'm very excited.
Interesting. So with the help of a plumb line, which we still use plumb lines in architecture today.
And archaeology sometimes. I've used a couple.
You go to your... Really?
Yeah. I think
so
for mapping.
Studied archaeology, didn't do any real field work. Unlike the Egyptians, me and the sun don't mix, so
yeah,
didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
But they used a plumb line, and the Merkhet could track the sun by day and the passing of stars across the north and south meridian by night. Instruments like this allowed Egyptians to measure time. It regulated temple rituals, and it could help build the massive monuments like the pyramid, which I think is where the Graham Hancock theory kind of uses for this, is because they would often use things like the Merkhet with aligning and using very, very basic understanding of geometry. So because it's something that could track stars, but what they did is they tracked the decans and the passing over online in order to count hours, not necessarily align with a certain constellation. So
yeah,
it may be that they,
I don't know.
They spring this.
I think that thing is just because there's three things, and because
That's true.
It's the three pyramids, the three stars, and then they say the Sphinx is supposed to be Leo, and then the Nile is supposed to be the Milky Way. Leo's on the other side of the Milky Way from Orion, for one, and apparently the angle of the three pyramids is the opposite way of it. And then to top it all off, the entire basis of their theory is that it lines up with what Orion's belt looked like 10,000 years ago. Or in 10,000 BCE. Not even 10,000 years ago. In 10,000 BCE. Which, like, I did not know is part of the theory, but it is.
But when we talk about, like, you know what, never mind.
It's part of his whole theory, is that the pyramids are older than they say they are, and I didn't know, because when you see it on Facebook, and it's just that one picture, and it just says, they line up with Orion's belt. Like, it doesn't mention all this other stuff, and that is what I discovered when I started digging into it, that I'm like, oh god, this all relies on this earlier thing. And I also it's not originally Graham Hancock's idea, it was somebody else's, and then he and two other guys expanded on it, but like within a year, like it was another guy's idea. I think he is still also a pseudo-archaeologist, but again, it always was about it lining up not 3,000 years ago when it happened, but 10,000 years ago, or 10,000 BCE.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Scorpio's on the side of the entire sky.
Exactly. Yeah. That was the big thing.
None of it makes sense.
None of it makes sense. There's so many problems with it that I didn't.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it's just their whole crazy fascination and honestly racist ideology. So that they don't believe that they could make it. But obviously, because look at this awesome thing with a plumb bob that they obviously use to measure stuff.
So this is why I got into the history of STEM, is because I hate the idea that there's no way that ancient cultures could have done what they have done, or did what they have did what they did. There we go. We got it.
Yeah.
I promise I can teach. Anyways, when we have just amazing tools, and the way that they work, it's simplistic because it works. It can still work, and that's, I think, what is so, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
You don't need advanced technology.
Exactly.
It doesn't need to be advanced. Use the same things that we have now.
And a lot of these astronomy tools were multifunctional. So like with the Mercat, it was it was basically a night clock. But it was also used in geometry and within architecture, and it was just, I think it's amazing that they could create something that had more than one purpose, and kept its relevancy for a really long time. So while Egyptian astronomy may not be what we see as like a science in the modern sense, it was an extraordinary achievement. It's a blend of observation and symbolism and practical application, and it reveals something important that I keep mentioning, and I'm going to mention it so much you're going to get tired of hearing it.
Yeah.
About the history of STEM is that the earliest steps towards science often emerge not by separating myth and measurement, but from holding them together. They weren't afraid to see it as an all-encompassing thing.
Yeah.
So how I bring this material to my middle school classroom is I don't just hand students a list of dates and star names and instruments, but I invite them to imagine themselves as young astronomer priests on the banks of the Nile. And this year we were able to go outside and do this, which was really fun. And I asked them, if your family crops, your food for the year depended on predicting the flood of the Nile, how would you watch the sky? And they come up with all these answers, and I don't give them, there's no right or wrong answer. I love asking curious questions that invite them to imagine and to kind of come up with their own way that it would correlate to their lives. And then from there, we'll explore the tools that the Egyptians used. And I'll pass around an image of a Mercat. We'll explain how a simple plumb line and careful observation of the stars can divide the night into hours. And then we'll actually make our own, which is so much fun. So I give each student a ruler, and we tie a piece of string to it, and then we'll attach small weights at the end. And suddenly they're holding a Mercat. And like, of course, Like, I tell them we're not aiming for perfection here.
Yeah.
So you can't, it's like, it's sometimes with hands-on projects, you can get lost in perfection, the measuring, the trimming, adjusting until it works just right, or it's very accurate. But the goal at this point is not to build a flawless scientific instrument. It's to give them a general sense of how something this simple could be used to track and orient, great monuments.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take that maquette outside, or we'll use them with star maps, and students practice sighting a star and imagining the plumb line marking the north and south meridian. And we see how the weight keeps the string steady and creates a reference line, and they understand how the device is used. And something about doing it hands-on in that way really, really sticks with them. We'll explore deacons together. So this year, I had enough students that we were able to have someone, like, each kid be a deacon, and then we had our observer, and
Amazing.
they would like pretend to, like, rise, and they loved it.
That's
They
so
loved
good.
it. So by like making and experimenting and imagining, my students discover that ancient Egyptian astronomy wasn't abstract or out there. It's hands-on and practical and essential to survival. And they leave with a sense of, I hope, wonder, not only for the ingenuity of ancient people, but also, their own ability to step into that story. And maybe, just maybe, I am helping debunk Graham Hancock myths, one ruler mercat at a time.
Let's go. Absolutely. Take them down one by one. It's the best that we can do, man.
Exactly. Yeah, if you want to go into the next slide.
Amazing.
So now we're going to go into ancient Greece and then into the Hellenistic period. And ancient Greek astronomy, it begins in earnest around the 6th century BCE with philosophers like Anaximander, who they begin to ask, what is the nature of the cosmos and how can we understand the structure mathematically? Now, he gets it totally wrong. Really, really wrong.
Oh, we love it. You just gotta... These men with their big brains, they just gotta try every so often.
Try until you fail, and then fail again. But he got it so wrong with the placement of the cosmos. So he thought the sun was the furthest thing from the Earth, and then that was followed by the moon, and the closest thing to the Earth was the stars.
I'm sorry, that would make the sun even more massive than I'm sure it actually is, like in real, like if that was the furthest thing from us. So yeah, he's really thinking wrong. The sizes, like the stars would actually be really small, even though the stars, yeah, he got it completely opposite. I
don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. He gets so wrong.
Poor guy.
And it's easy to off at early philosophers with mistakes like that. In astronomy and science, it's always started by curiosity and like the willingness to hypothesize and get it wrong. Ask ideas that you can test. Obviously,
yeah, I was gonna say you can't test that.
It was tested later on and seen to have major flaws. Spoiler alert! I know it's gonna shock everyone, but it's because these men and women, which we will also learn about, because I can't go through any lecture without talking about Hypatia.
Woo!
It's because of these philosophers that we start to gain an understanding of space and a growing understanding of mathematics, particularly like early trigonometry and geometry, which is the fundamentals of ancient Greek mathematics is geometry. Everything is based around geometry when it comes to early STEM. So if you want to go ahead and change the slide.
Lovely. Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So by the 4th century BCE, Eudoxus of Cnidus develops one of the first geometrical models of the cosmos, using nested spheres to describe the motions of planets and stars. And this is an early attempt to bring order to what appeared as complex and erratic celestial movements of the time. He wasn't the first to suggest a geocentric model, which is the Earth as being the center of the universe, but he built upon that idea and tried to create a more calculated theory overall.
Sorry, I'm having some internet problems.
Go to the next slide. Are we
Okay.
lagging? Am I
A
lagging?
little bit. No, I don't know what it is. I've already closed everything that I can. I don't know what's going on. It might be. I think I have weather. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm trying to think of what else I can close. I might have to close the stream avatars. Hello. Alright, let's see if that helps. Alright. Yeah, sorry. I don't know what's going on. It was just dropped frames. Alright. Okay, so next slide for you. We'll see what happens, and hopefully everything will be okay.
Oh no. Could it be anything on my end, or is it just...
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
See, it just did it again. I might have to just, like, turn off my internet for a second. Let me just see what my speed test is. Melissa's not the best at remembering to restart her computer, but I did it like
Same.
a couple days ago. Like,
Mine restarts because I forget to plug it in, and then we'll die. I love that. And I count that as restarting.
I just love how when you like get internet, they only tell you about like download and not upload, and I'm like, I couldn't care less about more download. I want more upload, and there's no way to add more upload, and it's very annoying. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. The worst part is that it looks kind of completely fine, and so that makes me weirded out that it's like, I don't know why it's doing it. Okay. I know. You guys are trying your best. You're trying. No. Everyone's trying their best to get me to remember to restart my computer. But I did. I restarted my computer this week. You guys, I restarted actually twice this week.
She did it.
Yes, I'm on Wi-Fi, Roxy, because I don't have a cord long enough to go around 3 doorways. And oh my god, why is my friend calling me? Okay, I'm not picking up because I'll text her. And the other reason that I'm still on Wi-Fi is because my condo complex is just getting installed with Verizon Fios. I have to just wait for the whole complex to start it, and then we're going to get Fios, and then we're going to request the Fios man put it straight into the office. This is surprisingly the only room in the condo that doesn't have an Ethernet cord. Like, that's the crazy part, is that it's in my other bedroom, and it's on the other side of this wall in my living room, but it's not in this bedroom, which is crazy. It's coming, guys. It worked. Our Wi-Fi was fine when we moved in here. It's only been lately it's been a little squirrely. Like, even though I'm in a condo complex, there's a bajillion people around me, so. Okay. Of course, there's an ad starting, but I'm gonna snooze it. Okay. All right. Continue. I think we'll be okay, hopefully.
Okay. Just let me know.
Yeah.
Let me know.
We'll be fine.
So by the 2nd century BCE, we get to Hipparchus, who creates the first known star catalog. And he discovered the phenomenon of precision, showing that the positions of the stars slowly shift over time. Around the same time, we have astronomers, or what we would consider now astronomers, proposing heliocentric models. I mean, centuries before we get to Copernicus. Though it's that geocentric view is redefined by Claudius Ptolemy in the 2nd century CE, and it dominates the ancient world for over 1,000 years. So, there are people being like, I think, looking at what we know and taking what I understand about the night sky, I think the sun is the center of our universe. And people were like, that is crazy. You're wild for saying that. So it was seen very kind of out there theories, but we are getting them centuries before.
This is interesting.
Centuries before, I guess.
I did not know this at all.
Yeah. So we want to go to the next slide.
Is that Greece? Is that guy living in Greece? Yeah. Okay.
So we are now to one of my favorite instruments. And my first stream that I ever had with Melissa.
I was going to say, I recognize this.
I begged her to just walk around in discovery mode in Assassin's Creed Origins so that I could talk about, it was all for this.
It was all for this.
Which is the Armillary Sphere. It was literally all for this. That was my only goal in life, was to be able to talk about the Armillary Sphere in Assassin's Creed, because it was gorgeous.
I also wanted to check if you know that I think it's been recently announced that they're doing a discovery tour for Mirage, which is in ancient Baghdad during the Islamic Golden Age. And they're
gonna do a discovery tour for it?
I think so. And literally, I remember when you announced that this was what you wanted to talk about, and I was like, we should just go around Mirage, because I'm pretty sure there's a building that we can go around. We can experiment after this if we have time. But I think they might. I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure they announced that they're doing Discovery. I don't know if it's out yet, but if not, we can always go into Mirage, because I do own it. So
when Mirage came out, I didn't have it, and the amount of people who loved me enough to take screenshots of astrolabes,
yeah,
like I had a folder, like that's how many I was getting, and I loved it so much. I love that game so much. But this is the Armillary Sphere, and it's one of my favorite things, as I have said, and I lost my place, and if I don't have it, all I'll do is talk about this. So
that's okay.
Okay. It's often attributed to Eratosthenes in the 3rd century BCE. We don't actually know who invented it. Just wasn't, I guess, important enough to write down. But a lot of people do attribute it to Eratosthenes in the 3rd century BCE. It's a series of concentric rings that represent the circles of the heavens, the celestial equator, the ecliptic, the meridian, the celestial globe. And it's this 3D imitation of our celestial globe, that's everything that we can see in the night sky. With cool. The Armillary Sphere, we're able to use right ascension and declination, which is something that we still use in telescopes today.
Super cool.
Go
and I think what Mark put as a link, it's not a discovery tour, but it's a discovery tour app, so it's on your phone. So it's not the same thing as like the full discovery tour. I'm on my phone doing it right now. It's not even an app.
You can do it on your phone?
Yeah, I have it. I'm on my phone right now. So it's not. It doesn't seem like the full game.
I don't understand.
Wait, am I? Actually?
I don't need the full game.
I think there's little videos.
This is the best day of my life.
Yeah, they're little videos. So it's not like a full like running around scenario, but it is little videos. And then there's a codex. They have the codex as well. But yeah, I will.
I'm so happy right
I wish I probably could.
It's crazy.
I know you probably could.
Not for another month.
You probably could use it in class though. I was thinking that. Oh,
I'm gonna
guess what the third mission is called.
Oh my goodness. Astronomers could rotate through. Oh my gosh.
It's called the Astrolabe.
Oh my gosh.
No way. Is the actual mission. This is. Yeah.
I'm delusional enough to think this game was made specifically for me.
Yeah, the Bureau has received
was for me.
information that one of the astrolabe pieces is in the possession of an expert of navigation at the House of Wisdom. The House of Wisdom is a place you can go. I think that's where all the cool stuff is. Even if you're able to enter the building, it is unlikely that he will easily part with such a treasure. Go there and retrieve without fail. And so it's like an intel. But yeah, it's Discovery Tour app Ubisoft Original Medieval Baghdad is what it's called. And it looks like you can get it on your phone without actually doing a full app, which is pretty cool.
I'm so happy.
I just thought it was so funny.
You have to do the rest of it, right?
Yeah,
I can't bail and just that.
I just thought it was so
kidding.
funny that, like, with the topic that we had 2 years ago, we went around in Origins and looked at all of the cool stuff, and I was like, oh, wait, we're talking about Baghdad. I was like, we talk about this in Mirage, like, I'm pretty sure. And so I forgot to say, I'm like, do you want, like, we should just go in during the game, like.
Dang.
And it's your favorite astrolabe.
Yes, this is my favorite thing. We're finally to it. The astrolabe, which I have one behind me.
Yes,
here.
I know. I saw it in the background. I was like so excited. I did not know what this was until you told me about this, genuinely.
So my thesis was completely devoted to the astrolabe. I am in love with the astrolabe. It just is what it is. So my thesis was that you can take the astrolabe and use it as an outreach tool for the timeline of the history of astronomy, especially with children, which is why it's kind of funny, like, to think of the fact that teaching was never on my radar. It's just something that kind of my lap and happened. But everything that I have done has been about outreach for this particular age group, so I don't know why it didn't dawn on me like this is going to be what I was doing. But the astrolabe, we don't know exactly when it was invented or by whom. The earliest that we can date it back does get mentioned in the 2nd century BCE with ancient Greece. So we know that it was probably invented within ancient Greece, but again, we don't know who. And then it keeps its relevancy all the way until the mid 18th century. We stop using it around the time that we start getting the octant and the sextant for navigation, but until then, the astrolabe through centuries remained the most relevant.
It's a long time.
It is. It's a flat portable device, and it's basically like a 2D version of that armillary sphere that we saw earlier, which, you know, with that was a 3D model, and you can move those rings and the concentric circles and really see it. But they needed something that's going to be portable that they could take with them and use for navigation, and that's where this comes in. And it's really your first handheld, not smart device, obviously, but pretty close, because it could do so many different things. It's used for astronomy, astrology, navigation, and even telling time. It was also used as a calendar, which is, you can see we have here. Mine is a replica of a 10th century Arabic astrolabe. And inside here are different discs depending on where you are in the world to help calculate with the night sky. And then we refer to astrolabes by the language up until a certain point. So you have a Hebrew astrolabe, you'll have an Arabic astrolabe. I get asked that a lot, is why am I saying Arabic and not Arab astrolabe or something within that. It's by the written material. That's
the language. Makes sense.
Yeah. One of the most famous figures associated with the astrolabe is Hypatia of Alexandria from 360 to about 415 CE. And she didn't invent the astrolabe, obviously, but historical accounts from her as a student describe her constructing a silver plain astrolabe and then teaching its use. And Hypatia's contributions were therefore less about invention and more about refinement, application, and education. So you can go to the next slide.
We always love Hypatia.
Yes. Always.
Always.
Stan. If she has no fans, I am dead. So she authored commentaries on Ptolemy's works, further connecting mathematical theory to practical tools like the astrolabe. And she stands out not only for her work with these instruments, but also as a teacher and mentor. She taught mathematics and astronomy and philosophy to students from across the Mediterranean. And she was written to have donned the robes of a scholar, which up until that point were only reserved for men. And then she really lays the foundation for us of what's going to be called math.
I'm sorry, on my screen though it came out THMA, so I laughed. I was like, Thama. Sorry, that was so funny. I saw it on my screen. I was like,
I know you were trying to speak to me.
Because the emotes will just come up in any order, and so they went the opposite way. Because it's sorry, that was so funny. Welcome in Open Set. We're talking about ancient astronomy and awesome things with Alexandria.
But so she donned the robes of a scholar, which was traditionally only reserved for men, and she really holds this high place of esteem and regard with her colleagues. It's her tragic death in around 1415 CE that marks the turning point in Roman period Alexandria, and it's often cited as the symbolic end of classical antiquity's intellectual era. Her death was both political and religious. The story goes that she was friends with a political rival of the bishop at the time, and politically charged religious zealots found her, and she was middle-aged by this time, dragged her and stoned her with tiles. But it's through her work that exemplifies how instruments like the armillary sphere and astrolabe, that they were more than just scientific tools. They were a means of teaching and demonstrating and preserving knowledge. And these devices connect observation, mathematics, philosophy in a way that still inspires us today. So you can go ahead and change the slide. Yeah, okay, I'm going to answer this one. So, Agora, which is the movie that you're referring to, is really great cinematography. None of it's accurate. At all. And I love Rachel Weisz. I'm a huge Rachel Weisz fan. It's not accurate. Don't listen to it.
I've heard this about this movie
for me
in so many different ways. And I've never seen. I've heard about this movie so many different times, but I've never seen it. And so now I'm just like, do I watch it or do I just not watch it?
No. I warded it off. Like I was never gonna watch it, and then I got morbidly curious one night with a bottle of wine, and I regret every minute of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure my husband doesn't, because I think I was screaming at the TV the whole time.
Yeah, that's probably
like,
what
that
would
didn't
happen.
The director and creator, he took it off of this one Roman historian that hated Hypatia, and is not considered in the slightest to be an accurate depiction, portrayal, historical text of anything about her, but the entire movie is based off of that text.
Cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. As in, not at all.
Yeah.
But,
no. Yeah. I feel like I could only survive historical inaccuracies when I didn't know anything, and now I know too much.
Or if it's like based on, or obviously like a fantasy depiction of something, or literary, I'm fine with it. But this one makes me mad.
My childhood nostalgia carries me through Indiana Jones. And like that's the only reason why I still like those movies, is because the nostalgia is very strong and my love and crush on Harrison Ford. But I never watched the Mummy movies, as everyone here pretty much knows. I did not watch those until college, and even though I wasn't even that deep in Egyptology then, I was deep enough into archaeology to know. And I just, the entire time I'm like, what is going on? And I have no nostalgia for it. So even though like Yeah, Brendan Fraser's cute. Rachel Weisz is pretty. Like, I can't like it. I just can't. It just doesn't exist in my brain.
Understand.
Except
I understand.
I love the 1932 Mummy because it's so old that I don't care because it's like the 1932 Mummy, they barely had just found King Tut. Like, like I don't care enough for it to be accurate or anything. In that case it's fantasy. And my thing with the 1999 Mummy is that it is based on the 1932 Mummy, but they could have made the changes to make it better. And they made lots of changes, but none of them, in my opinion, made it better. No. Like, not like really the only thing that they made was a better female character who's like actually has like identity and things like that. But like, I do kind of like the damsel in distress girl because she's still kind of funny.
I've never seen it. Should I watch it?
The 1932 one, absolutely you should.
Okay,
my
I'm gonna add it to
next
my list.
my next if you've been seeing my TikToks, I've been making the Lego set. The next two episodes are going to be me watching the 1932, and then I watched two, so there's 4 1930s and 1940s mummy movies, and I got them in a DVD. Yeah, there are 4. So there's the mummy, the mummy's curse, the mummy's hand, and then there's one with the who are the 3 comic brothers from the 30s?
The Three Stooges.
The Three Stooges.
Are you kidding me?
It's either the Three Stooges or it's Abbott and Costello, but I'm pretty sure it's the Three Stooges. So essentially I had always seen the 1932. I've seen it so many times. We watched it on Halloween once because our Egyptology teacher made us watch it in class in grad school, which I loved. And so then, but when I filmed those videos, it was the only time I had seen the next 2, which are horrible. They're so boring. Oh, is it Abbott and Costello? It is Abbott and Costello, not the Three Stooges. But I knew it was one of the 2 of them.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense in my brain.
Yeah, but the 2 other ones, are just, they're just, you can tell they're really trying to be the 1932 Mummy. And so they repeat everything, and they're really boring in comparison. But I haven't watched the Abbott and Costello one, which is the last DVD in my little DVD set. But the 32 one is very spooky in its own way, in like the way that an original Frankenstein is.
The 1930s.
Yeah, but really funny, and you see where the 1999 plot follows it, and you can see where they very much diverge. It's like, I don't blame the 1932 Mummy for naming the pharaoh Imhotep and his girlfriend Ankh-Senamun, who are 2 names that are thousands of years difference in ancient Egypt. The 1999 movie could have changed that and made that more, because it only makes sense for them to repeat things if people actually remember the 1932 Mummy, but it's too distant from 1999. Nobody knows that it's based on that movie. So I highly recommend everybody watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it because we have I always make a list of fun spooky movies for Halloween. I'm not a horror film type of person.
It's not horror.
I love a good spooky film.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna let
you gotta watch it and recap back because it is very good.
That's so cool.
All right.
Okay. Well, all right. Back to the astrolabe.
Back to the actual lecture.
So for me personally, the astrolabe has always been a source of fascination. Obviously, because I dedicated my whole academic career on it. It's elegantly designed. It's precise. It has versatility. I love it so much, and it's really perfected in the Islamic Golden Age. What you will see is the Islamic Golden Age really takes the writings of the philosophers from the ancient Greek through the Roman period and Alexandria, and they don't just read it, they really dissect it, and then they perfect it, and that's what they did with the astrolabe. So when I think about the armillary sphere and astrolabe, I'm reminded that these instruments were not merely tools, they were like bridges to the cosmos, just to be wax poetic. and they're connecting, human hands and minds to the movement of the stars. So if we have time in my class, we'll make a simple model, like with the Mercat. We'll use, if I can get my hands on it, like a laser cut wooden assembly kit of an astrolabe. Sometimes we'll use cardstock to make our own with like the discs to do the alignments. And the goal isn't, again, it's not to measure perfectly, but it's just giving them something to hold in their hands and experience how ancient astronomers translated observation into understanding. And that's my favorite part of the year. I'm looking forward to it this year more than anything, because we're going to try and create multiple discs for multiple places within the world that mean something to them.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I love that.
Yeah,
I like the astrolabe because I think it makes sense very logically to me, because it is something that the stars is something that is kind of, in my mind, impossible to understand, like, just by looking at it. Like, I'm a visual learner. I can see these things. I don't see the rings that they are following and like how they move and stuff. And so I feel like it makes sense to make a model, which is why we have all these drawings of flat Earth and the Earth being the center and the sun being the center and stuff. But having a handheld thing is very satisfying and helps you kind of understand something that is kind of, it's hard to understand.
It is hard to understand. I've always wondered what it must have like felt like to be one of those early philosophers and be able to hold an astrolabe and take it around with you for the first time, rather than being kind of tied to wherever that armillary sphere was, because an armillary sphere was not portable. Even the small ones are extremely, extremely heavy. And we don't have telescopes until much later within the Renaissance. So like that must have been like the coolest feeling, to just be like, oh my gosh, like this is like when you get your, like when cell phones started becoming something that we all had. So you have the world at your...
I also feel like it's kind of funny because it also makes me feel like, but how did they know that it was real? Because like I feel like now if I hold...
I lost you. Oh, there you
no. Okay. It makes me feel like it like surprisingly, like now I'm like holding an astrolabe and I'm like, cool, the science to back it up is existent. And I feel like it's weird to think about like these early philosophers and how much confidence they had to have that it is real, because they don't have the thing like the internet to back them up, and other people just like, I need to Google, is this correct? Like, it's a very weird feeling to suddenly think about them walking around being like, well, it actually, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the feeling that I have as an archaeologist all the time of, but what if we're wrong about that? And the feeling of like, I have a spoon. What if this isn't a spoon? like things, weird things like that, which I do, it's that nagging feeling in the back of my mind of being like, what if we're totally wrong about this object and about what this object means and stuff? So I feel like it's hard because like I feel like I'm never going to know that. So I can't imagine how an ancient philosopher's like thinking and how much confidence they have to have.
Oh yeah, like, you know, people like have the audacity of a middle-aged white man. Also have the audacity of an ancient Greek philosopher, because holy, to like go around and being like, no, the sun is the farthest thing from the earth, and to say that with your whole chest. Nothing compares. Nothing compares. And it's not really
confidence.
It's not really until we get to the Islamic Golden Age and Baghdad and all of this, the House of Wisdom, that we really just start fact-checking all of this.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think about, like
someone goes, maybe we should fact-check. Maybe we
Maybe we
should.
should check.
It's not really until there are some philosophers like Hypatia who goes through, Ptolemy's work, and it's like, maybe there could be some changes, but to fully interrogate the material, we do not see that until the House of Wisdom.
Jeez Louise.
Blows my mind.
It blows my mind, but it also doesn't though,
Um,
because I think about, people know I work in an apothecary museum, so it's all about medicine. And I get so many people who come in, they're like, well, I'm glad that I didn't live during this time. I feel like they were just testing everything on me. And I'm just like, guys, you do understand that, like, progress, to make progress, you have to test something. Like, you gotta, like, I don't blame the Victorians for being kind of crazy when it comes to a lot of stuff, because, like, they were just having fun experimenting. And did they do some crazy ass things? Yes. But do we now know a lot of things? Yes. Like, nobody, the philosophers don't get that much flack, because people just think that they were thinking the entire time and not testing and stuff. And, like, the Victorians do all the physical testing, and they're like, these people are crazy.
Woo!
Ooh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's the same idea. Because while Alexandria waned, as this beacon of knowledge, in the 9th century, Baghdad eventually rises and takes that claim of an intellectual capital. It's under the Abbasid dynasty that the city becomes this magnet for scholars from across the known world. So the House of Wisdom, as we've mentioned, was its centerpiece. And a lot of times you might hear it kind of compared to the Great Library of Alexandria, which I'd like to point out, we don't actually have any archaeological evidence of this Great Library. But it's often compared to that.
I remember our talk last time. Blew my mind open about the Library of Alexandria. I was like, what? Wait.
Yeah, there's no archaeological evidence. We have enough written evidence that we think that we can probably safely say that there was at least a hub, a library, but it didn't burn down. It just kind of fell into ruin. And then this House of Wisdom then gets kind of like added onto that and is like, oh, this is just the Islamic Golden Age version of that, and that's not necessarily true, because it's more of a laboratory, I would say. You have texts from Greek and Persian, South Asian, and more texts that are translated into Arabic, but they take it a step further. So they're not just translating the works. Like I've said before, they interrogate it. Scholars annotate them, and then they go so far as to critique every single argument. They compare conflicting authorities, and then they test their claims with observation. So we're seeing a really sophisticated cross-referencing system taking place, along with calculations utilizing precision. And cross-referencing in this way, we do not have evidence of that really being done to this scale before. So it's the result of not just like an archive, which is what the Library of Alexandria was said to be, was this great archive. It's an evolving discourse. It's a new body of knowledge, uniquely shapes the entire ancient world and medieval world by this time through Baghdad's context. So you can go ahead and change.
Amazing.
The slide.
I have one brief question for you from Mark, which is more personal. Yes, when you were at Oxford, did you go to the History of Science Museum? And he's yelling at me for not going the one time I went to Oxford.
So when I studied at Oxford, it was during lockdowns. So there was no opportunity for me to go inside. I did have this amazing opportunity. So if you don't know, the History of Science Museum has the largest collection of astrolabes in the world.
So cool.
In the world.
So cool.
I was fortunate enough to have access to the digital archives, and access to conversing with the curators. And I had an amazing Egyptologist as my advisor, so I was able to utilize a lot of it, but I've never seen it in person. And it sucks.
I
I'm
miss
planning to
too
go back.
many.
I'm hoping to go this summer.
I missed too many museums in Oxford. Let's just say Melissa had to go see the Pitt Rivers Museum for a paper, and which I think is attached to the Natural Sciences Museum. I can't remember, but it's attached to something. And then realized why I had to go into that museum for the paper within like 5 minutes. I love the Pitt Rivers Museum. Don't be mean to the Pitt Rivers.
I'm not knocking it.
No, I'm knocking Mark. I'm knocking Mark. The Pitt River. I liked the Pitt Rivers Museum, but that's only because I weirdly, even though I have a very analytical mind, there's something about comparing cultures all over the same objects is just something that's like, whoa. See, Mark, I understand that people could think they're cramped, but have you seen my decorating style? That's like my life. So, as my loving parents said, the Eastern European in me is put all your shit on a wall. The Eastern European, if you've ever seen an Eastern European old lady's house, you put every photo of every family member on the wall somewhere. You leave no gaps. That is my entire decorating style. So I loved it. It's very I do understand why you find it overwhelming, but it's like two of my favorite things, which is like lots and lots of stuff and comparing them in really weird ways, and also old world archaeology cases where it's all dark wood and glass, which I hate modern museum like decoration and plexiglass and really shitty boxes that are painted. I really like the dark wood glass. Like the Petrie Museum in London is like my favorite because it's just like all dark wood and drawers and glass and stuff. No, but I also missed what's the other big museum in Oxford? The one with all the Egyptian stuff. I missed that one too. Ashmolean. I missed the Ashmolean Museum, which was such a stupid like mistake. I ended up I accidentally essentially only went to the Pitt Rivers Museum and then took myself on a self-guided Harry Potter tour. And that was it.
Sorry.
That was fine. I went to all the places I went to the Oxford, I went to the Oxford College where they filmed in the first movie. I went to the place that's the room of requirement and the hospital or something. I went to all these really things, and that's all I did for the rest of my day, and then took the train home like an idiot.
Oh my god.
It was so stupid. Remember,
Did you
though,
at least see the Narnia door? Did you see the Narnia door when you were there?
I think I.
The door frame?
Maybe I did. I can't remember. The only other thing I remember is that the college where the Great Hall is like inspired by, I did see the really weird fireplace holder that was probably the inspiration for Alice in Wonderland. Because the author of Alice in Wonderland worked there, and he lived there and worked there, but that was it.
That's another story. What an interesting man.
I know. I read about it later, but I was like, this is a weird random other thing that is meant to be in my Harry Potter tour.
There's so many weird things.
Yeah, I don't it makes sense to me because I was not an Egyptology student at the moment, so I didn't know what the big museums were for Egyptology, minus like the really big ones, but it did knock me in the head where I was like doing my master's comp exam. I was like, what's this Ashmolean Museum? And I look it up and I'm like, god damn it. There's so much cool shit there. The statue of Casa Kemwe and all the pre-dynastic stuff.
I'm sorry.
Was a bummer.
It was good to go back.
I know, and my best friend is now doing her master's in Scotland, so I have a year.
Oh, well then there's a perfect excuse
to go visit her and go back to England. So I'm potentially planning something.
Nice.
All right, let's keep going. We're doing well. Okay. Good questions, guys.
So within this environment of active engagement within the House of Wisdom, we get Ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi. There we go. I took Arabic. I have a funny story about that for later. But unlike earlier traditions that leaned heavily on geometry within ancient Greece, he abstracted problems into equations or systematic procedures, algorithms for their solutions. And his work shows us Baghdad's scholarly character. It's not content for us to inherit, but it determined to reformulate knowledge into tools that could solve real world problems, astronomical predictions, calendar regulation, land surveying, and therefore it was constantly evolving. This is what
Mm-hmm.
makes Baghdad and the Islamic Age overall very distinctive. Knowledge is not frozen in translation, it's refashioned into frameworks, and it pushed the sciences into new territory. So you can change the slide.
I love this statue. It's very brooding.
Mm-hmm. It's one of
Very,
my favorites.
very fancy. Okay. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So, in the same spirit of critique and refinement, we have al-Batani, and he observed the skies. He did so with the authority of Ptolemy from the Roman period in 2nd century CE in hand, but also had an immense confidence to correct him. So up to this point, Ptolemy is like the god of astronomy. He is the father of astronomy. And a lot of his stuff has a really good foundation. But it was Al-Batini who's like, dude, and is willing to critique every single thing about Ptolemy's
I love it.
philosophies.
Go for it, dude.
He spent decades of observation, and he recalculated the length of the solar year. He improved the measure of the Earth's axial tilt, and he described the gradual movement of the sun's apogee. His tables demonstrate what Baghdad scholars did best, which is take inherited models and then make them sharper and more accurate and just altogether better and more responsive to evidence. So again, this is something that they were not afraid to question material, but they also weren't afraid to adapt their material and to evolve it as they were getting better information, new information, as all of this was happening at a very rapid pace. This is massively different from Alexandria, where Alexandria really focused on gathering material. Baghdad interrogated material. Knowledge wasn't stored necessarily. I mean, it was stored, but that wasn't the main point. It was to test it against the universe itself. So you can change the slide. So Ibn al-Haytham embodied perhaps the fullest expression of this ethos. His book, which is the Book of Optics, is not a commentary, but a reinvention of vision science. He rejects Greek emission theories of sight, and designing experiments showed how light actually travels and how lenses bend it with reflection and refraction. What mattered was not the reverence for authority that we really see within Hellenistic studies of philosophy, but the willingness to question it. Ibn al-Haytham insisted that truth requires demonstration, not just argument. You have to be able to back it up with evidence. His methodology, observation, hypothesis, and experimentation, was itself a contribution as significant as his theories of light. This is where we get scientific theory, which you learn in like 4th grade. Is observe, hypothesize, test. It is Ibn al-Haytham who creates this ethos. Here again, the Islamic Golden Age, the role of these amazing mathematicians is clear. It's inherited text. They have to become sparks for a new system of inquiry. It has to keep pushing forward. So you can go to the next slide.
Awesome.
So these ideas were never confined to manuscripts alone. They took physical form in instruments that made the sky measurable. And the Islamic Golden Age saw the perfection of the astrolabe. It became even more of a marvel of craftsmanship and intellect. And these tools symbolize intellectual culture. Knowledge was not inert to books, but it was embodied, handled, and tested and applied. So a student in the Islamic Golden Age could hold an astrolabe, align it with the heavens, and see the principles of mathematics and astronomy come alive in the palm of their hand. And this is what made it an intellectual capital. It was not a warehouse of the past, but it was a constant living workshop of ideas where everything was engaged with and transformed, and it was given just a whole new life. So why does the Islamic age matter, and why should we teach it? So first, it represents, one of history's greatest moments of intellectual flourishing.
Mm-hmm.
It became the crossroads of knowledge. Scholars didn't just preserve ancient texts, like I keep saying, but they argued them and corrected them, expanded on them. This is something that we want our students to do when they engage with science. It also shows global roots of science and mathematics. Algebra, algorithms, astronomical tables, optic theory, and precision instruments, they don't emerge in a vacuum. When we study the Islamic Golden Age, we see that modern science is not the product of one culture or one era, but it's a tapestry. Like I've said, it's woven from so many different cultures.
That's amazing. It's something.
The third reason.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
no,
go ahead.
I was just saying
please,
how you never learn this. I hate to say it. Like, we never learn about the Islamic Golden Age, and I will say I probably only started learning about it, and I only learned about it on the art history side, again, not the science side, because I don't have that gap. I don't have the science background that you do and that you have that interest in. And so, like, I only learned it because I took an Islamic art and archaeology class, and I barely learned any of this. Like, I hate to say it, I learned this when we played Mirage. I learned a little bit of this when we played Mirage, and that is it.
Well, and I have thoughts. Because especially when I was looking at curriculums and when I was getting my training for my, the certificates in order to teach at the specific school that I'm teaching at, everything is very Eurocentric.
Yeah.
So we kind of adapt like ancient Egypt school, but it's still through the lens of Eurocentrism. I still don't say that right, but you get it. Looking at it very much through the lens of the Victorian era in England.
Yep.
And how they perceived it all. And so you have ancient Greece, you get the Roman period, and then the Dark Ages, so we're not going to talk about it anymore, and then you get the Renaissance, and all of a sudden they just figured it all out. And all hail Galileo, which I have beef with, but we'll get to that in a minute. But they completely skip. I have a whole slide about my beef with Galileo.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
But they do. Okay, so Spaceship Earth at Epcot does. I worked at Walt Disney World for 6 years, BT dubs.
I don't know if
they
I've
do
been
like a very
Spaceship
small
Earth.
thing, but it's still that they not all. The ride goes that the Library of Alexandria burned down, but don't worry, it was all saved because Baghdad archived it for us, and so it doesn't even go to the fact that we get scientific theory from the Islamic Golden Age.
Yeah,
it's just. Whoa, thanks guys. Moving on to Michelangelo. Like, it literally...
Yeah. Just a stepping stone, unfortunately.
It's seen as a stepping stone and not the reason.
Yeah.
And it is the reason. But again, even within the Islamic Golden Age, it's not existing in a vacuum. They're building upon and questioning and testing so many other things.
I'm so excited.
I did live in Orlando, yes. But because recovering this history, it restores a balance to the story of science. Too often, we, like I said, we move from Greece to the European Renaissance, and it leaves this century of shadows, and we call it the Dark Ages. And nothing about the Dark Ages, even in England, was dark. There was still things happening, and still innovations and questioning happening. But it was scholars in places like Baghdad and Damascus and modern day Syria and Cairo and beyond who make the night sky measurable and mathematics abstract and knowledge itself experimental, and it opens up this whole new world to play with science. And I think that's why I think it's just so beautiful, because before we're getting really confident philosophers, and that was great because we can build upon it, but here it's let's not be afraid to be curious, and let's not be afraid to test our curiosity, and let's not be afraid to be wrong. And let's keep testing it until we get it right. So the Islamic Golden Age is not just important to remember, it's, I think, essential to teach it, because it reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge it's always been a human endeavor. It's shared, it's debated, and it's enriched when it is across cultures and centuries. So in my class, we'll explore algebra the Baghdad way. So we'll show algebra as problem solving rather than memorization, and really try and utilize how algebra can help in multiple scenarios. We'll like role play as like merchants, and how algebra would help in the thing of like, a merchant has some camels. If he adds half as many plus 3, he has 18. How many camels? It's like very basic stuff.
I love it.
But they're like, ooh, when are we learning algebra? Which my class will be entering pre-algebra in their next term. Then we'll discuss how algebra helps scholars predict planetary positions, compute calendars, solve real life problems. So it's giving a story to arguably one of the most hated subjects in middle school. Thank you. Oh, you're so smart. And then we'll do critical thinking with text, which I think is so important for modern day. So we'll simulate the way that the Islamic Golden Age scholars interrogated texts. So media literacy. I'll give 2 simplified ancient claims about the moon and the sun, and then I'll ask them to compare the 2 and discuss which seems more plausible, and think about how they could test it. And then I let them debate, and they love debating. But this emphasizes the Islamic Golden Age's culture of debate and annotation, and students are really replicating that critical engagement. And then we'll do charts and observations. We'll connect students with that style of astronomy by creating simple star charts with major constellations at our latitude. We'll measure angles or map star positions using protractors. We might simulate precision of stars over time using a rotating like cardboard circle in that way. I don't always do that. It depends on the class, because some of them don't like it. But this shows a careful measurement and record keeping in how like Al-Batani refined Ptolemy's tables. And then we can also do like optics labs and play with reflection and refraction with what would become telescopes, and look at cultural context. So there's so much, if you're in an outreach or teaching position and you want to utilize something that's not necessarily going to be found within your planned curriculum, just finding ways to integrate small hands-on debates and real-life application of these things can really spark something in kids. And I mean, the amount of times that I've had students tell me that they went home and researched this, or they went home and some of them, not all of them, but some of them are allowed to play things like Assassin's Creed Mirage, and it starts this kind of curiosity about it. And I think that that's really what we're trying to accomplish here. You can change the slide when you're ready.
All right.
So now we're moving into the Renaissance. So by the 12th century, the intellectual traditions of the Islamic world begin to flow into Europe. So centers like Toledo in Spain, parts of Sicily, they become hubs for translation of Arabic into Latin. So Arabic texts on like mathematics and astronomy and optics are now accessible to European scholars. But it's not just a simple handover. Translators here often annotated and commented on and interpreted the works just as the scholars in Baghdad had done centuries earlier. They really set the pace, led by example. So in this way, the European scholars inherited both the content and the critical approach of the Islamic Golden Age, and they gained not just formulas and tables, but that method, that scientific method, lives on, into the Renaissance. And it's not, again, it's not just, okay, this is like the clean thing that happens next, and now it's the Renaissance's thing, and they're going to take it over. But more so that they're being able to gather this and they see how the scientific method works and start utilizing it themselves.
Awesome.
So you can go to the next slide.
I didn't know about translation sites of Arabic to Latin. That's awesome.
Yeah. So what's really cool is that there's a lot of astrolabes, and at the Museum of History of Science has them, but there will be Arabic astrolabes that will have, like mine obviously doesn't, but you can see where there's Arabic letters and numerals, they would be etched on, like on top would be Latin.
Oh, wow.
So they would take that and then translate it and just etch it on top or under, and it will have both languages on it.
That's even cooler.
I know. So the impact of these translations, they're evident in figures like Copernicus and his heliocentric model. It didn't emerge in isolation. It's built because of those astronomical tables and theories that were developed by the scholars in the Islamic Golden Age. And the precision of planetary positions by al-Battani and others had calculated and provided those reference points that Copernicus then uses to make his heliocentric claim. Unfortunately for him, it was not accepted by the Roman Catholic Church, and he had a really hard go of it.
Yeah. Do we know, like, sort of, this is kind of hard to sort of tell, but do we know if any of these guys during the Renaissance, like, actually referenced that they took some of the knowledge from these Arab scholars, or did they kind of try to push it under the rug?
So it depends. Yes and no. It really depends on the guy. So we do have texts, especially with the annotations, where they are fully giving credit and saying that they're building upon the ideas of like al-Battani, or even al-Haytham. And then you have other ones who are claiming, oh, I've mastered it. Honestly, a really big tall tale sign is, does the Roman Catholic Church like them or not? Usually, if the answer is yes, they just invented it all on their own.
It's double racist. I was thinking, I was like, I don't know, like, this is this before or after the Crusades? This is after the Crusade, this is after the Crusades, right? I always forget when the Crusades are.
At this point, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but we start getting these translations during.
Yeah, that's what I've been wanting to do a little reading about the Crusades, especially when we started we played like the first Assassin's Creed, and like that game, while cool, has no information because it was not meant to be a history-based game with a codex and all of that extra stuff. And so I was extremely confused the entire game. I was like, I have no interest in the storyline. I don't understand where we are, what we are doing and stuff. And so I can't remember what it was. There was something that we were talking about. Oh, actually, that's what it is. We're doing the DLC for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And on Thursday, we were playing it for the first time, and it talks about a nameless crusader as like a fictional character that is this stupid giant Nephilim angel whatever the hell who wants to attack me all the time. But they talked about the Crusades, and it's got me thinking a little bit more that I know the very kind of basics, but I don't know a lot about the Crusades. But I know that through the Crusades, minus all of the fighting and the killing and the conquering and stuff, they did take a lot of stuff back over to Europe. Like, I knew it in a weird way. It was a trade. It was a big trading kind of, or not even trading, stealing resources, I guess.
And I will say that a lot of the texts that we get were from pillaging.
Yeah. That would make sense,
to put it nicely.
Yeah.
So they weren't like overhanded. And then like, yes, so the Crusades last, I mean, it's a long span of timeline, but there's ebbs and flows in that. So we don't start translating any of it until about halfway through, and then we don't really start annotating it, if I remember right. And this is me trying to remember, so that like don't take me to court on that. But we start really annotating it towards the end, the tail end of the Crusade. Looting would be a good name for that.
Yeah.
There was some instances of trade, but yeah, this wasn't benevolent.
No, for sure.
It was not benevolent. But I didn't study that, and then that I can like focus in teaching, so I haven't mentioned any of it here. But
no, that's okay.
Once we get into the Islamic Golden Age transferring that over, it's not benevolent at all. Benevolent. There we go.
I kind of started. I just started thinking about, like, obviously, in this time period, I feel like you could get away with claiming something as your own scientifically pretty easily, and so I started thinking. I was like, are any of these guys crediting any of these Arab scholars? Like, honestly, what I'm looking at is
some are not.
How time has gone on, and probably the reason why we don't talk about them as much in schools, and it is because of long-seated racism and, in some ways, forgetting that it even existed. Like, and I'm sure in America, I would be very curious to see if prior to like 9/11 we talked about this in schools. Like, I have a very bad example of, like, I went to Catholic schools. I was not taught correctly in a variety of different ways. So I don't have the basis of, like, a public school to know if public schools now teach about it. But I would not, unfortunately, in some parts of America, would not be surprised if they taught about it even less so, or not at all, after 9/11.
No.
Or the Iraq War.
The Islamic Golden Age has, to my knowledge, always had to battle Islamophobia. Even during, the Islamic Golden Age. That has always been an underlining current, and is one of the major currents of why it's not taught. I am so lucky at, the schools that I work at, that I'm able to talk about this, and that they trust me to talk about this. But I've dealt with pushback in the past of people being, like, scared of me teaching this, with no real reason as to why. It's just, this deep, generational Islamophobia and ignorance. But speaking of people who take claim for their own things, you can go to the next slide.
I'm so excited because I guess I don't think I know anything about Galileo, really. Like, I think I do remember, where was I? I went and saw something that he did. I think it was in Venice. If you go up the really big tower near the Doge's palace and stuff, there's something in one of the corners that's supposed to be his, but I don't remember. I'm having a vague memory, but I really don't know much about him.
I'm not his fan. And it's a really petty thing, and it kind of started as a TikTok joke, and then it just kind of grew, because I made a whole video, and it, for some reason, that video did really well, because I think I was just rage baiting a dead man. But, like, my beef with Galileo, and it's because his observations in the early 17th century. So now we're, like, zooming you we're zooming you through a timeline now. He makes these observations with his telescope, and that's possible because of the centuries accumulated knowledge with optics. Ibn al-Haytham's work on light reflection and refraction, and it provides this foundation upon which European science could construct its instruments. But he didn't invent the telescope, and I need everyone to know that he did not invent the telescope, because I cannot tell you how many people think that this man invented the telescope.
If it
He
makes
didn't
you,
invent it.
if it makes you happy, that's not what I thought he did at all. So,
Oh God, the amount of people who are like, "Oh, the telescope, Galileo invented that," and then they'll start singing Queen before I can tell them, no, that's not what happened. And it's like this whole thing, and I can't. I cannot.
Galileo.
I don't know what I did in a past life to deserve it, but the amount of times that happens to me, it's astronomical. But so he did not invent the telescope. We don't actually, there's some discrepancy on who may have actually invented it.
Okay.
The first person to register the patent for it was a man named Leperche, who was, I believe, Dutch. So he registers it, and Galileo gets a hold of this patent and is obsessed with it.
Okay.
And so he decides, because this man, if he lived today, I swear he would like be one of the, like, I say this because like I also build miniatures, so this is hypocritical, but I swear he would be one of those people who like build miniatures, because he was so infatuated by this patent that he decided to make a ton of them off of the patent and give them to his patrons as gifts. So, but somewhere along the way, he forgot to tell everyone that he didn't make it or invent it. He just made them as gifts. And it started this rumor that he invented the telescope. But he didn't.
This is like it's like an Edison thing, but not apparently that evil. Like, he didn't totally steal it, but he didn't tell he didn't correct everyone that it wasn't his.
Exactly. And I mean, to give him the benefit of the doubt, it was probably a lot of people, and you can't just group text everyone.
In the 17th
so obviously,
century. No, you cannot.
You're right. He does, guys. It wasn't me. I just had the instructions. But he loved the telescope. He made a ton of them. He experimented with them, and then a lot of his observations are because of his love of telescopes. And that just really illustrates a continuity that is often overlooked, which is what we're taught in schools is this European science revolution. It's not, it's not happening in a silo. It's a culmination of ideas, not just from the Islamic Golden Age, but they've built on the ideas of the ancient Greeks, and a lot of those things with like reflection and refraction also come to us from South Asia. So we're getting this huge global story.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the telescope itself can be seen as like a direct descendant of the Islamic tradition of optics instruments, like the astrolabe and the quadrant, because it wasn't merely a tool for measurement. It embodied the same principles of observation and geometry and precision. So imagine a lineage. A student in Baghdad aligns an astrolabe to measure a star altitude. Centuries later, Galileo points his favorite toy, the telescope, skyward to see the moon orbit, And in our own time,
I'm sorry.
the James Webb.
So his favorite toy. He's just like, this is the coolest patent I've ever seen. What? Like literally just made it just for fun. Like, men on the autism spectrum, very, very obvious.
Yeah, and then was just like, you can think what you want to think.
Yeah, not gonna correct you.
Who am I?
Yeah, this is so funny.
And then his little fun time of building telescopes and then deciding that he doesn't have the time to write every single person leads to me today to have to see, like, hear people sing off key
Yeah.
Queen. And so I have beef with him.
Yeah. Oh my god. That's okay. I have beef with Herodotus, and most of my beef with Herodotus is very petty beef. Because I haven't read everything Herodotus has said about Egypt, but am I pissed off that he wrote something about if an ancient Egyptian cat died, that the entire family would shave their head, and if a dog died, they would shave their entire body, and how stupid it's in there. It's so stupid, and it's just like it's so stupid because obviously it has to be accurate in some stupid way because he probably talked to somebody, but like,
oh, he's so dramatic.
It's just so random, and it's just like,
that's so dramatic.
It's just, I probably should actually read like what Herodotus wrote and stuff, but like, I can't get past that one. I can't get past that. It's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we can be petty against historical people that aren't alive anymore. Absolutely.
Yeah. I have no. This will always be a thing.
Always have a beef.
But we can think about this continuity line of, students in Baghdad to Galileo and his telescope, and then connect that to the James Webb telescope. And that's looking back to the earliest galaxies. So across this chain, it's the same spirit of inquiry and careful observation and mathematical reasoning and rigorous method. It keeps persisting.
Yeah.
So you can change this slide, because I forgot to have you do that.
Oh, the James Webb telescope. Where is this telescope?
So the James Webb telescope's in space.
Oh, that one's in space. Okay.
Yeah.
Melissa's not an astronomer.
So the James Webb telescope is basically our modern Hubble telescope.
Okay.
But it's amazing. You should go on to Google after this and look up James Webb telescope photos. So its main mission is to try and look back as far as it can. And astronomy is essentially time travel. And like, we could get into it and talk about how in astrophysics and quantum physics, gravity equals time. So you could potentially travel farther in time because of like supernova black holes and the precipice, but you can't travel backwards.
I don't like this.
But we can look but we can look backwards in time because of the light, that we're seeing that are reflecting off of stars, how it gets to us, it's in the past. So the James Webb telescope is able to explore some of the oldest galaxies in our universe and send us back those images, and it's just amazing. And none of that would have been possible without this tapestry. So
I don't like
that
the
is
thought. I don't like
that is all I have. But that's why I think it's so important to integrate history into our STEM classes. Astronomy to me is it's the easiest one to do because there's such a clear story to it.
Absolutely. And I know I've said this before, honestly, with a lot of different guests we've had, or sometimes on my own streams, where I've asked people, so like when I work at the Apothecary Museum, I frequently go and I say like, whenever I meet like other pharmacists and they come into the museum and they see this historic pharmacy from 1792 and I always ask, did you guys ever learn the history of pharmacy or the history of medicine? More often than not, I get no. And I always say that I feel like there should be classes that are offered in these things because of something called historiography, which this is what this talk was. It was a historiography of astronomy. And historiography is the study of history and how history is studied, and so how you can see it over time. And after I took my class in historiography, I really felt that really felt that it opened my eyes into how Egyptology is taught now and how people see it now and why people see crazy misinformation things, because it is all based on how people have studied it before. And so when you have like these other fields, any sort of science fields, medical fields, more often than not, they're not teaching those things because progress is so quick, in my opinion, like especially when it comes to medicines. Like, what's the point of talking about all the medicines that didn't work when you have to become a doctor who will use things? Right, and so I understand why they're not taught, but I always think that it should be like an elective that they can choose to do, because I think a lot of it makes sense, and a lot of anything pharmacy like older than like probably 16 or 1700s like is not as relevant, and I can understand why you wouldn't teach that extensively. But like, people walk into the museum all the time and they're like, oh, so nobody uses this stuff anymore, right? And I'm like, no, like 99% of the stuff on the wall here is still used in some form, or a synthetic form of it is used. But I say it was used for this much back in the day, it's used for this much today. It's usually used for one medical reason or something. And so, like, I think historiography of all fields is really, really important. And I just don't think enough fields teach these things because they don't see them as relevant. But
yeah, for sure.
When you see that progress.
For sure. And I think that's why it could be so important to teach it at a grade school level. Mm-hmm. So, because that's when we're laying those foundations. And I still remember things that I learned in middle school that stuck out to me, or things that resonated with me. And when you get into, med school, or, you're taking a majoring in astrophysics, you are now hyper-focused on where you're going, not where you came from. And if we can find a way to bridge that gap between humanities and STEM when our students are younger, particularly starting in middle school and then up through high school, that's something that they're going to at least take with them enough to at least understand that none of this occurs in a vacuum. And I think it's that idea that scientific theory, that research, all of this is happening in a vacuum, that leads to so much misinformation and distrust against the progress of science and mathematics.
Yeah.
So I think it's super, super important. I'm really lucky that I get to focus an entire class around the historiography of astronomy.
It's just so cool. Your school just sounds awesome, and I wish I could go to it, because
I know. I'm like, dang.
The more I learn, the more I realize how much my elementary and high school stunted my growth in a lot of different ways, and it bums me out like so severely, because like I know it was probably just because they were like Catholic schools, and also because a lot of the teachers didn't have to have a teaching certificate or degree to do so, and I just like, it bums me. It makes me grateful for what I did learn, but it does also bum me out that like I didn't learn as much as I feel like I possibly could. Yeah. And like, I remember in high school, I really wanted. They used to offer an Eastern civilizations course, which like nobody offers, and I was super excited to take it. And I think the year that I was allowed to, they got rid of it, and I was pissed. I was like, what? Come on, because like they never talked about the countries I wanted to learn about. Ooh, give me 1 second. Oh, there we go. Ooh. Sorry. Start over. Okay. You're good.
No, I was just gonna say I fully resonate with that, because I grew up pretty fundy, like fundamentalist Baptist, and was homeschooled all the way through high school. So I think that was one of the reasons when I moved out, I was like, education was like a rebellion for me in like a really weird, tenacious way. Like I couldn't just do an education, I knew I wanted to go to one of the top schools eventually. I
Yeah.
knew I wanted to pursue like heavy research because I could.
Yeah.
And then I found out that academia wasn't for me, but like I don't regret trying it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Same, girl. Absolutely
So
same.
I can't, it's too competitive, and too much of a hierarchy. So
Yeah.
I'm really lucky though that I get to use all of that, and then now I can teach, and it's been like selfishly, it's really healing for me. Because I still get to talk about those things that I love, and I get to see just this spark of curiosity in my students, which is all you can hope for when you have a hyperfixation on something,
Yeah.
is that it'll spark curiosity in someone else. So the fact that I get paid to do that is a dream come true.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I wish that I one day could do like a full Egypt centered class and such, but I did a archaeology camp that every day we talked about a different culture, it's like a different ancient or slightly modern culture, and a different archaeological like sort of research topic. So like we did Egypt and we did language, and like we learned about different like historic languages. We did I'm trying to think of what I always associate, I think we did Greece and Rome, we did pottery, and I kind of did it like that, and I really enjoyed going to so many different topics. But like, man, would I love to just like divulge into, and this has always been on the back burner, but I've always wanted to host like my own summer camp of a week of just like a full history nerd summer camp, and I'm sure I could find kids to do it.
Yeah. There are two types of fifth and sixth graders.
Yeah.
You've got your Percy Jackson Greek mythology crowd, and you've got your Egyptology crowd. Like,
yeah,
those are the two categories you get.
Maybe some dinosaurs, but they've maybe
it's still, like,
it's a little younger.
Yeah, well, because both of my kids are dinosaur kids. Like, which is hilarious to me that they're both into paleontology and not archaeology.
It's unfortunate, but they'll learn learn which one is better.
Still within history, one of them is a Percy Jackson Greek myth. One of them is an Egyptology kid.
I love it. Yeah. That's just what you need, and it is I've seen so many kids like fascinated by archaeology and history, and whenever I'm doing like my programs with archaeology, I always have the one kid who knows too much already, and I'm just like, I gotta calm you down, because I gotta teach everybody, I gotta teach all the idiots who don't know anything. You gotta just like calm down for just like 1 second. I love you, but like we can talk about this later, because I gotta teach everybody all in the same group.
I've been shown up in class before. I have students who definitely know more about a topic than I do.
Absolutely.
I had one kid who like corrected me on one of the plates of my astrolabe, and they were completely correct.
Jesus.
And they were like, yeah,
what are we gonna do?
I got some books from the library recently, and I was like, oh my goodness.
No.
The kids are okay, y'all. The kids are
gonna be good.
They're amazing.
So, I guess if anyone has any questions for Alexandria, please ask them. And I think my big one is just, I know this is this class that you're teaching your kids is like specifically an astronomy class, correct? Like it's entirely focused on this. How can we take some of the stuff that you have talked about, and when we don't have the classes that are focused in astronomy, how can we take those little things and try to integrate them into like a full science class where you got to cover all different types of science and all different stuff, and you don't have like the time and dedication to go outside and build an astrolabe or something? Oh, wait, 1 second. Sorry.
No,
all right,
okay.
Now you go. You freeze and then it goes silent, but your mouth is still moving, so I can tell. But you're good now.
Weird.
Very weird.
It's a full moon tonight. Maybe that's a lunar eclipse is doing it.
Oh God. Maybe.
So if I was teaching like a full science class, so I teach more than just astronomy.
Mm-hmm.
I also teach history, and I also teach geometry. I'm doing all the things.
Doing all the things.
Doing all the things. We never sleep, and I love it. But you can. It's pretty easy to find even just one example of an early hypothesis that has been built on.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even need to go necessarily into ancient. You can just look at like how the understanding of greenhouse gases was discovered by a woman who was a suffragette. And her findings were lost to history till about 2000, I think 2012. And it was just randomly found in a closet by a geologist at a university. Because before then, we thought that this other guy who was like 2 years after her had discovered it. And like these are really great ways of showing how nothing exists in a vacuum. We're always expanding. We're always learning from each other. And if you can find examples that are from cultures that don't necessarily reflect exactly where you are, so like I live in the Southeast, so it's pretty easy to find places that necessarily reflect where I am. That's even better because it gives this global idea that everyone contributed and there's not one culture that, you know, necessarily just instantly got it because they're better. It's this building and questioning and using that scientific method. That's another thing. You can teach the fact that the whole scientific method was invented during the Islamic Golden Age.
Yeah, that is true.
Even that doesn't exist in a vacuum. And then obviously with history, this is the story of history. So you can use that. And then real world applications within math, like with algebra and geometry, or like how geometry is one of the oldest understandings of mathematics because it was practical. That always really excites my kids when I get to tell them that like geometry was sacred. It was art, it was architecture, and it was the foundation for all other mathematics that follow it. So they really feel like they're, doing something kind of Indiana Jones-like when they're having to learn about and parallel lines and all of that.
Oh my gosh. I love that. That's so cool. There's something that I have to send you a link to it because I don't remember any of the specifics, but there was a while back there was a discovery in Egypt of what they kept saying was a oh my god, what's the word for it? Not a planetarium, but maybe a planetarium. No, it's not a planetarium. What's just like an astronomer's hut? I don't know what location an astronomer works at. Observatory. The words are not coming to my head. I was like, I need an astronomer's house or something. Yeah. An astronomer's hut. I don't know why I said hut. Don't ask me why I said hut. Yes. An observatory.
Yes.
The place that an astronomer
You got there.
In my mind, I was trying to use the word astronomy and make it a noun for a location, and it wasn't working in my brain, and so that's why I was like an astronomica or something. There was recent news that an observatory had been found in Egypt, and I can send you the link because I did an Egypt news video about this. You already know about this. The thing is, it looked really cool, and I was so happy to talk about it and stuff, but the articles that I found on it, like, because they're just news, they're not like an actual like scientific paper, like I found nothing to really convince me that it was an observatory. There wasn't a lot in my opinion.
It was interesting because there were a lot of instruments, like astronomical instruments, found within it. So a Merkhout was found within it.
Okay.
Which is what led them to believe that it was probably, so we know that priests would use the Merkhout to calculate the hours of when to do certain rituals at night. And then we hypothesized that they probably had, I think observatory is really the only word that you can use for it, but really what it was just a circular
A
hole cut out
hole.
in a very specific spot so that you could only fixate like on one point in the night sky. So from what I understand, that particular circle that they found was like cut out is aligned with the deacons
Got it.
for right. So it's a good hypothesis that was probably an observation area for rituals, but I think it's deep to think that it was for astronomical observations as a whole. This is when we sound like a real archaeologist, as I think it was ritualistic.
I think it was ritualistic. Sorry.
But like, I don't know, Dr. Hubbs, if you've been here the whole time, but I went through a whole thing about how astrology and astronomy were interconnected in ancient times.
Yeah, we did.
It's astrology. It was a whole thing. So it's because of ritualistic and sacred of stars that we get astronomy. So I think it was probably an observation area.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call it a full observatory. I think that's misleading.
Yeah, even though even though the literal word observatory is somewhere to observe, but it's just like,
yeah, it's still similar. But you know how like you think of it differently in your mind? Like it was like it's an observation deck, even would like make you think something different than an observatory, which we see as very scientific and analytical. And I don't think it was that at all. And I don't think that's necessarily what they're saying it is either.
No.
And I know a lot of people immediately were like, oh,
yeah,
that's so analytical. That's so like serious.
Yeah. So much. Okay.
That's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
An opinion.
That's good. Because I didn't do any really deeper besides the like announcement that they had made about it. And so I remember being like making this video and being like, I feel like I don't have all the information because I'm not 100% getting it, but I'm just going to seem confident and go with it. Yeah.
No one does. I haven't seen any, I'm sure there are, but I haven't seen any full published papers, which I feel like happens a lot with Egyptian archaeological discoveries. They tend to get pushed out through newspapers.
I just don't genuinely think that they do a lot of full publishing of excavations. I think they do. I can't remember what it is. I finally found a website that had like a ton of like the antiquities ministries papers, and they were both in Arabic and English, and I found them on a special page that I was like, you could search them, you could find all of them. I was like, whoa, like I can't believe I like somehow couldn't find these like for the longest time. But they're not like you would do an archaeological report for the season in your thing. It's not really like that. It's their private papers, their dissertation, like their little specific things, and not like how almost every other, like a lot of European and American groups do usually publish a season record sometimes. But yeah, it's a weird one, and it always makes me mad because like sometimes the news source that I have gives no pictures of any of the artifacts that they talk about in the actual article, or which is even worse, is that they post a lot of pictures and they don't label any of the pictures, so I don't know what they're talking about. Even if it's mentioned in the text, they'll just post a picture of an artifact and I'm like, I don't know what the heck this is, I don't know where this was found. And so I'm very candid in my videos, being like, I don't know what this is supposed to be, but this this picture was part of the press release, so I guess I'm just gonna put it up there. But yeah, that is unfortunately a kind of gray area, especially in Egypt, but I think other places too, unfortunately.
Yeah. For sure.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions for Alexandria? Obviously the VOD will stay up, but I'm I am recording this one, so I'm fortunately not going to lose it like I did my last guest lecture. I know you would have loved that one too. It was a guy. It was a mathematician, so we talked about ancient math.
I watched it on TikTok.
Oh, good.
I was like commenting, but I don't think you could see any of my comments.
Oh no! I think we got so deep. We got so deep into the math.
I was like, this is my jam.
I think I know. I do. I remember some of them. Yeah, it's so hard with two different chats to look at everything.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
All right. Well, if there's no more questions, then we will let you get on with your nights. But thank you so much. This is so interesting. I now need to do a deeper dive on the Islamic Golden Age. And you definitely should. I sent you the stickers on Discord, and I sent you the link to the Mirage. The Mirage, whatever it's called, weird app that's not the actual Discovery Tour, but app Discovery Tour.
I know what I'm doing all day tomorrow. I should be lesson planning. You might just be doing that.
You could also be lesson planning with the app.
I'll do that.
I mean, I was gonna say, because I don't know if you have any interest. I have to check what ages they have, but the group Save Ancient Studies Alliances, they do have an archaeo gaming sector in which they've made lesson plans using Assassin's Creed games.
Cool. I didn't know that.
But I don't know what age they've tested them on. I feel like they've only done college. Or no, wait, are they trying to do college? But so, I'll send it to you.
Really, like the Discovery Tours are great.
Yeah.
But it's not anything I would recommend my students play. Because I couldn't even, I don't know if you know this, I couldn't even get through Origins. And I was playing it with Zach, my husband. I couldn't do it because it got to the really sad scene, and I didn't see it coming. And I have 2 kids, and I still it took me a literal week to recover. I know it's a game, but it felt so real.
See, this is the fun thing. Is Origins was the first one I played, and I think somebody may have they didn't tell me that the kid died, but I think they told me somebody had, I think, let it slip that in all of Assassin's Creed games you lose somebody special. In all the Assassin's Creed games, you lose a kid, you lose a parent, you lose somebody else. And so I think I saw it about maybe 5 minutes before. I was like, oh no. And then it's happened all the other games I've played. I'm just like, okay, who's gonna die now? And I'm all prepared for it. I'm literally prepared, who's gonna die, because I know somebody else is. And then literally we just played Shadows, which is the most recent game, and it's set in feudal Japan. And there is a very young boy that we hang out with, and I was like, if they kill Junjiro, I'm going to murder this game, because he's honestly one of the best young characters. And so far, no, not yet. He might get killed in the DLC, but in the normal game, he does not. Who knows? The DLC comes out next week, so it's just it's so funny. It's so far this is the only one that hasn't had a major death. Although Odyssey's was so late in the game, in comparison, Origins is very early in the game. It's obviously because it's his.
I watched play that one. And when that happened, it's better watching someone else go through it when you're not as invested.
Absolutely ruined me because I loved that kid so much. And then it was hysterical because I still hadn't figured out who the big bad was, who the center big bad was. And literally it was the girl who killed, who essentially got her killed. And I was like, oh, I'm ready for this. There is no way that we are letting this woman live. This lady's going down because she killed Phoebe, and we're never going to let her live it. It was so good. Nope. Oh, it was so funny too. I love that.
Oh, it's amazing.
All right. Last thing from Roxy. Roxy's just saying thanks. Yay.
Aww. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
sweet. Thank you for saying
Thanks so
that.
much, guys. Alrighty, we are gonna say goodbye to Alexandria. I'll hang out for a little bit. I don't know why. Halfway through that, I was trying to stifle all my yawns. I was like, I don't know why. I was up. I guess I was up early this morning. I was
Did you
like,
see me?
yeah, I know. I just saw you do. I was doing it like, I'm not even joking. Full half an hour ago, and I was like sitting here. I was like, Melissa, you have to pay attention. Like, what is going on? I don't know why I'm fading fast
I think
today.
you're bored.
I know. I'm
No,
thinking. I'm
it's-
thinking. Everyone's gonna think I'm being rude, even though I would never. I would never. I love astrolabes. Absolutely.
No,
Oh,
I know, because you're my friend, and we would
Yeah.
have problems if you didn't.
I don't know.
That's a
Absolutely.
deal
Do
breaker.
I know how it works at all? Absolutely not. But I'd still love it. It's still
Maybe
so
one
pretty.
time I'll like show you via
Yes.
Zoom chat or something, like a
We
FaceTime,
do.
and I'll like actually take it all apart.
Or maybe
and
I'll
show it
come
to you.
visit you.
'Cause I haven't-
Because I want to come
Yes,
visit.
or I'll come visit you.
Or come visit me.
Or
Absolutely.
I guess I live. Okay, so I live on a farm also.
I know you have
So maybe
animals.
visiting me is a little more fun.
I know.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
have been wanting to go to your area because there's a university museum sort of in the
Oh yeah.
in the area, and I've been dying to go to that one. And my mom went to high school in your area, and so she was saying that we could go down together and she could go visit her high school friends, and then I could go visit you and Anna.
Yes.
I also do need to go to Orlando because now Mark is there, and now too many people are in Florida now. I'm like, there's too many places I gotta save money
Yeah, I
to go
moved
to.
out to Florida. Move to the mountains where it's pretty and not hot all the time. But I will let you go. Thank you so much for letting me talk for like 2 hours. This was super fun.
Absolutely. We love it.
I will see you all soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, my love. Have a great rest of your night. Bye.